questions on, excuse me, on congestion pricing. One of them is, the MTA says that modernization, electric buses, and even ADA stations likely now have to be deprioritized because of the missing anticipated revenue. What do you say to residents of the Bronx who've been waiting for an elevator at Burnside Avenue, for example, now hearing not from advocates, not from Twitter, they're hearing from the MTA. That's now deprioritized. So what do you say?
I say to this, I made the decision to not go forward, to pause at this time, because I don't think New Yorkers, based on what I've heard from people all over the city and the advocates and the people who are deeply concerned about what it'll do to our economy, that a $15 toll at this time is too much. I needed to take immediate action to pause this now. But we've been in conversations. I also committed that those projects will go forward. But to assume that the only funding source had to be congestion pricing shows a lack of imagination about understanding other opportunities to fund these projects. I am committed to these projects. I have told everybody I'm committed to these projects. I've had the conversations with the leaders about these projects before they left town, and they may be coming back. But we will take care of this. And so I understand the level of concern at this time. But I, as the governor of the state of New York, am committed to continuing those projects with alternative funding. That is being worked out with the legislature. I gave them a number of options. Those conversations are very much alive and ongoing, and it will be resolved.
And just as a quick follow-up, in your recent international speeches, it's been reported that you had some pro-congestion pricing language that you decided to take out at the last minute. The question being, if you knew you were going to call for this pause a couple of weeks ago, why not do it a couple of weeks ago to give the legislature more time?
It gives you options to get closer to that date. I mean, we've been monitoring a lot of information, a lot of data points about the economic recovery. Starting in December, for example, we thought that this year inflation was going to be lower, that more people would be back on the subways, that we would have more buildings that have individuals. And there is still in many businesses the stress that that their employees will opt out and stay home and work remotely, or go to another job, or even go to another state. There are a lot of other options for people that weren't there in 2019 when this law was first put forward. So many factors. I have had conversations with the leadership. The timing was to do something before the legislature left and before June 30th. And so I wanted to reserve the right to continue studying this, considering our options, hearing from people, and that's exactly what I did.
Juliet?
Yes, Governor. Hi, good morning. When you say an indeterminate pause, what is your timeline for that? And would that involve necessarily rejiggering congestion pricing to shrink the fee or shrink the time that it's applicable? Or would you consider wiping it out altogether and then giving New York City funding for programs to address congestion?
No, there's a big difference between a pause and elimination. Elimination was an option. I said I'm committed to congestion pricing, some way to bring in measures to ensure that we reduce congestion in our city. But we also have to be concerned about the collateral impacts in other communities as well. That's what I hear about when I'm in the Bronx. So I want to take a look at this. And I'm very sensitive to the passion behind a lot of people who worked hard on this and thought this was the only answer. I have a perspective that says there are other ways to deal with this. So funding will be there. We'll continue congestion mitigation. And at this date, and all will be resolved at a future time, but a pause was necessary because otherwise this toll would have started being collected June 30th. That's why the pause gives us the opportunity to meet with the leaders of the legislature and others and move forward with a different solution.
So would you reduce the fee then necessarily?
I was all options are on the table for future conversations.
All right, Bobby,